Well, hello, Simon.
Uh, hi, hi. I wasn't
Hi.
coming, but I'm in the back of a car.
Okay, it looks like it. Yes, I thought
I
maybe
didn't.
you were driving. No,
Even I wouldn't do that
no.
in a traffic jam on the one. But it's moving.
Good. So,
So where are you, Dov?
I am in Hollywood, Florida.
Okay. And when you coming here?
Before Rosh Hashanah, I have a number of things I have to do in the meantime. So, I don't know the exact date actually.
Okay.
Good evening.
Hello, David. Good evening,
Good morning.
David. Good morning. Right.
Right behind me.
Evening all.
Hello, hello.
Dr.
Simon, you're
Weissman's
in your
giving
car?
apologies and is still present. Nice.
Simon, you're in your car?
No, I'm a passenger in somebody else's car.
Uh-huh.
And
Dedication
I
to
didn't
duty, I
think,
call it.
yeah, I didn't think I had no idea about the timing. So I didn't realize that I would be able to join. So,
I think last week the Rav gave the shield from a car. He had a belt on it. He had a belt on it.
yeah, I saw. Yeah, yeah.
Or a plane. I don't know. It was a
I'm guessing it was a car, David.
yeah, it was a car.
Well, El Al announced they're going to have internet on all their flights next year.
Okay.
Good evening.
Yeah, if Dov.
Erev
Tov.
Tov.
How are you?
Got
Wow, Larry, you're in dark, sitting in dark. Okay, I can see your face. Good evening, Erev Tov. Today we're on time, so we didn't change, Baruch Hashem, the shiur. And we have a lot of topics in this parasha. Um, the death comes to the world. In the beginning of the parasha was Para Aduma, the discussion about the death, the dealing with the death, how you purify yourself after the death, etc. But then we have the three shepherds of Am Israel. They all die in our parasha. We have hijack in the parasha. A small girl is hijacked. Okay, we have a war in the parasha. We have a lot of death, but the three shepherds are dying in this parasha. Miriam, and then Aharon goes to Or. Here in this parasha, the Torah doesn't mention when, but later the Torah would say that it's Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and therefore that's only your side mentioned in the Torah, that Aaron died on Rosh Chodesh Iyar. And then we have not the death, but the punishment of Moshe Rabbeinu. Mei Meriva, Kadosh Baruch Hu orders him to talk, and he heats according to Rashi, or according to other Rishonim, he's angry. He says, Amina Sela Zenotzi, we, Lechem Mayim, it may be heretic in a way, because he doesn't say that the Kadosh Baruch Hu brings the water, whatever. So Moshe Rabbeinu is doomed to die, whereas Aaron and Miriam are both dead at the end of the parasha. So I would like to say something a little bit Hasidic, but more psychologic about the three shepherds. Good evening to all the joined people. To all the three ro'im that we have. שלושת הרועים, the three shepherds. I'll start with Miriam. You know that according to their birth, who is oldest? Miriam. Okay, she's 126. Aaron is 123, and Moshe is 120. Okay, family with a lot of longing life. Okay, nobody dies early, Baruch Hashem. And unlike their order of birth, the Torah handles mainly Moshe, secondly Aaron, and thirdly Miriam, which is very barur, and we don't have to discuss it. Okay, so Miriam dies first. What does the name Miriam mean? If you look at the name Miriam, so then you have merirut, bitterness, or mayim, Miriam, the same letters of mayim. And pay attention to that three of the places where Miriam is mentioned are all related to water. When for the first time we see her as a big sister of Moshe Rabbeinu, what does she do? She hides him in the Nile, okay? She deals with the Gezerah of the water, Kol habena yelod hayorah tashlichu of Paro, and she tells her father, according to Chazal in Sotah Gemara, saying that Gezerah atcha yoter kasha mishel Paro, and therefore I should save Moshe and stand in the water next to him. And then she meets Bitya, the daughter of Paro, and then she treats him. That's the first time Miriam is mentioned. The second time, Miriam is now mentioned along all the time of Yetziat Mitzrayim, but at the end, when Yetziat Mitzrayim is done and they come across Yam Suf, then ותיקח מרים הנביאה אחות אהרון את התוף בידה ותצאנה כל הנשים אחריה בתופים ומחולות ותען להם מרים שירו להשם כי גאוגה סוס ורכבו רמה בים. I think I mentioned once that Rav Meidan explained this pasuk very differently than what we're used to, because we are used to read all Shirat Hayam with all the psukim, with all everything. Kiva sus paro b'richbo farasha bayam. The Torah ends, and then ותיקח מרים הנביאה אחות אהרון את התוף בידה. That Miriam imitates the man in order to clap or to dance or to play, whatever she does. But Rav Meidan reads it as past perfect. ותיקח, and Miriam had already taken at the Tov Biada. She was the first, okay? And then all Moshe Rabbeinu followed her. So again, you see that Miriam, the older sister, leading Moshe, okay, unlike the Torah, which represents always Moshe as a leader, Aaron as a secondary, and Miriam just as a third person. But no, Miriam leads here Moshe Rabbeinu. So, but it never mind. The second time that Miriam is mentioned is around the water, around the Kriyat Yam Suf, and Miriam gives Kadosh Baruch Hu praise for Shirat Hayam. The third time in her death, okay, the third time she is mentioned is in Lashon Hara at Parashat Ba'alotcha at the end, that she speaks about Moshe. We'll deal with it. But the third time that Miriam is mentioned in her death is surrounded by water, okay? Lo haya mayim, and that's a source. It's almost explicitly written that Chazal saw that the be'er, the well, is related to Miriam, because when she dies, there is no water. Okay, so Miriam, mayim, okay? And Miriam is marim, mayim marim, the bitterness. What does she symbolize in her personality? Chazal said that Miriam is pu'ah. Pu'ah et avlad. When a child is born, he's dirty, she's dirty, they're covered with blood. afraid of the world. They have not shayach. They found themselves in a different world than used to. And you know that according to the science, there is a big trauma to the baby when he's born. His whole blood changes. Okay, hemoglobin changes, and a lot of changes happen, mamash, in the hour of the birth. And then Miriam is the one to soothe him, to give him a hug, to clean him, even if he's dirty or she's dirty. She takes the baby and hugs him and gives him sympathy to the new place where he or she is. And what does she probably do? She tells, you are nice. Don't look at yourself as dirty, as full of blood, as abandoned in a new world, etc. See yourself as a creature. See yourself, hug yourself. I give you empathy. I give you a hug. I want you, between you and yourself, to feel that you belong to something, that you are not alone. Okay, so she gives the man, he's the man or the woman, he's an entity of Ben Adam le'atzmo. Now we don't talk, usually in Chazal, we talk about Ben Adam la'makom versus Ben Adam la'chavero. But now we know that we have three levels. Yeah, in the 21st century, everybody talks not about Ben Adam la'makom, not about Ben Adam la'chavero, but about Ben Adam la'atzmo. That's the main thing, that you have to be with yourself. So Miriam gives you the first aspect of being with yourself. You're nice. Water, first of all, if you look at water, you see a reflection of yourself. Okay, narcissism, and that is based on the stories that you look at the water or the Gemara with a Nazir at the beginning of Masechet Nedarim. Shimon HaTzadik sees a Nazir looking at his reflection in the water. But Mayim, according to the Maharal explains it a lot. Mayim mold what you have. Let's say you take a glass. So the mayim, the water comes into the glass and is molded in the shape of the glass. If you take a box or you take some pile, so the water would be molded according to the pile. Okay, so mayim usually are just a reflection of what you have. And that's Miriam. She gives you, the baby, the man, the human being, his own reflection of what he is. But Miriam dies. And then we're left with Aharon and Moshe Rabbeinu. What does Aharon give to the person, to the public? So we know the famous Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, saying that Aharon is Ohev Shalom veRodef Shalom, Ohev et habriyot u'mekarvan laTorah. By using the phrase Bria, what does it mean, Bria? Bria is not a nice name to a human being, because human being is a human being. Hu Adam, Hu Ben Enosh. Bria sounds like a creature. If you eat an ant, it's a bria, okay, in a loche. Because sometimes you eat insects, or you eat, you buy, lettuce or whatever, and you have insects inside. So it's a question whether it's bria or not bria, okay? Whether, let's say, you grind it in the mixer, so maybe it's more permitted. But if you don't do it and you have a bria, so it's more chomer. So ani bria v'chaveri bria. Bria is the lowest level of the human being. It's just being created. Okay, Aaron Avinu relates to the person. Ohev et habriyot u'mekarvan laTorah. Even the people who are the lowest were just briot. Aaron loves them, and mekarvan laTorah. What does his name symbolize? We talked about Miriam as bitterness, as water. Aharon is lirot ule'eraot. Okay, Aharon, lirot, and to be seen. You might say that Aharon is chesed in one way, that he sees the Ben Adam la'chavero. He tells you, don't see just yourself, like Miriam, that gave you the reflection of yourself. See the other human being, okay? If two people are fighting, So he goes to one and lies to him. Your friend loves you very much, and he regrets what he has done to you. And then he goes to the other side and says the same, and then they make peace. What does it mean? That it means that he is a person that makes the not only ben adam le'atzmo, but moreover ben adam lechaveiro. Okay, that's his first goal as a Kohen, and that's why he is related to the korban. The korbanot, Torat Kohanim. What does it mean, korban? Korban is that you are a sacrifice for something bigger than you. Okay, so the word korban symbolizes that you are not standing alone. You are a part of something bigger. You have to take care of something bigger. Here it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but you have to see outside of yourself. That's what Aharon does. Okay, but Aaron has another tafkid, another role, that he is not only the nice person that makes the sholem and the chesed, he is already a din, okay? Unlike Miriam, Miriam got married to whom? To Kalev from Shevet Yehuda. So she doesn't stay a Levi. She is Leviah from birth, but she got married with somebody from Shevet Yehuda, and she lost her being Levi. Okay, no problem, but she lost it. Aharon is the real Levi. Okay, what does a Levi do? So he has a lot of roles being a Levi. He takes the Aron HaBrit into the Milchama. Unlike now, all in the Haredi thought, we talk a lot about the Rambam at the end of Shemitah v'Yovel, that the Kohanim, Shevet Levi are exempt from the Milchama, and so on. But you have many places in the Tanakh that you see that the Kohanim were not exempt from the Milchama. They really took the Aron HaBrit into the Milchama. Okay, why were Bnei Eli killed? We spoke about Bnei Eli on Shabbat. Why were they killed in the war? Not because they were just two soldiers in the war standing מחוץ למחנה. No, they carried the Aron HaBrit, and the Plishtim heard that Aron HaBrit is coming and said, let's be brave, because this time we're not going to lose just because of the Aron HaBrit. And then they killed the Aron HaBrit carriers, okay? Li and Pinchas, and that's why the Aron HaBrit was captured. Okay, so we're not dealing now with a famous Rambam at the end of Shemitah v'Yovel. He doesn't say what a lot of people want him to say, because he cannot say it in any case. But just in לענייננו, הלוויים are, Kohen is not just a Kohen, Aaron is not just a Kohen, he's a Levi, he's a real Levi. As he said, he stayed Levi. And as a Levi, he has to represent Am Yisrael in the Milchama. He stands with his brother Moshe in front of Paro. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him explicitly from the very beginning, Moshe Rabbeinu is not alone, standing in front of Paro. You stand with him. So he has not only the chesed that we try to think about him as a person who makes shalom, etc., but he is the one that the din that comes, the brave person that stands in front of Paro in the milchama. His figure, if you think of Miriam, you see the mother, because when the baby is born, he needs a hug, he needs a shayachut to himself, to herself, to know that he exists, that the ben adam le'atzmo exists. But afterwards, let's say that you have a baby. You know who is mother. You don't know who is father. That's nature, okay? Now you can make DNA to know who the father is, but the baby doesn't know who his father, okay? So Miriam is a natural world to yourself. You know who you are connected to yourself. Whereas Aaron symbolizes the father, the zachar, the male, that you don't know who is your father, you just have to know him. And he educates you, and he takes you and tells you, I am your father, I am from the outside. Meaning to say that Miriam is not the outside, Miriam is yourself. You have to confront yourself. Whereas Aharon, when he comes, he tells you you are not alone with yourself. You have an outside world. You have a lot of people. You have a korban. You have to get out of yourself and meet your friend. That's the Ben Adam lechaveiro, okay, way of looking. But it's very nice that we can say that Miriam stands as Ben Adam le'atzmo, whereas Aaron stands as Ben Adam lechaveiro. Yeah, it's very clear in all the stories about Aaron that he makes shalom and he deals with two people, with couples. Okay, so he is a person that makes shalom between two people. But two people are not enough. Because if I am okay with myself, I was cynical before, but according to the 21st century, that's the main thing, but it's really true. If you are not okay with yourself, you cannot be okay with other people, and you cannot be okay in the world. Okay, so firstly, you have you need Miriam as the first shepherd to take care of yourself, to know who you are, to know where you belong, and that's it. When Miriam dies, you have Aharon HaKohen giving you the aspect of the world, the outside, the male, the father, the korban, lirot ule'raot. You cannot just see yourself, you have to see others, and others should see you, etc. But that's not enough as well. What else do we need here? The Ben Adam Lamokom. Not because Chazal said that there is a level of Ben Adam Lamokom versus Ben Adam Lachavero. In the real way of looking at relation between two people, even if you are two people, we can relate to ourselves as one. Rav Wolbe, the famous Mashgiach, Haredi Mashgiach, said something very, very beautiful, that a person who is concerned just about himself, when he marries out a girl, he will not be now more concerned of others because he meets the other. He'll just double his identity and make it wider. Sometimes when a narcissist person gets married, the marriage causes them not to see each other, but to make the other myself. And then they relate to themselves as a more swollen entity, okay, that they demand more and they cheat the world more to make themselves the best, okay, and to make priority to both of them and to give superiority over others to themselves. That shows that even the Ben Adam L'Chaveiro is not enough. Because let's say in a modern picture, when I take a selfie, I can take a selfie of myself and see the reflection of myself, but I can take a selfie with you, okay? And then it's a reflection of both of us, but it's two people, but it's still just one is shown in the reflection, okay? So therefore, we have the third shepherd, Moshe. After Miriam giving you your own identity, and after Aaron giving you the Ben Adam L'Chavero, Moshe Rabbeinu tells you that Ben Adam L'Chavero as itself is not enough. Because when looking at Ben Adam L'Chavero from a non-religious perspective, you might look at it, or at her, at him, as just a companion to my own identity. Okay, we know that in the philosophy of the world, we have the concept of the social covenant, Amanah Chevratit, Jean-Jacques Rousseau and others, saying that the whole, or it comes even from the Brits, from Whale, okay? Whale tells you that the ordinary, the basic situation is when you stand alone and you cannot maintain, you cannot succeed with your own needs. You need somebody to help you and then to merchandise with you and to do Khalifin, to give you, okay? If let's say that I work in the garden, I can grow vegetables, but I don't have clothes. So I need you to deal with the sheeps, and then you make my clothes, and then we swap, okay? Osim Khalifin. That's the basic Kinyan acquaintance according to the history of the acquaintance, and in law you learn about the Khalifin. The Khalifin is the basic Kinyan of the world, because in ancient time they used just to swap goods. I make one, you make one, and then you take mine, I sell you mine, and you sell me yours, and etc. Okay, so this is not enough. Jean-Jacques Rousseau says that that's a whole how reality exists, how society exists. I have my own needs, you have your own needs, and we have to get along with each other because we're the same planet. Okay, that's according to the philosophy of the non-religious world, the philosophy of Ben Adam Lechavero, but it's not enough. Moshe Rabbeinu tells you that you don't need just being nice citizen, being a citizen of the world, being nice to each other. You need the godly part of the Ben Adam Lechavero, which is Ben Adam Lemakom. I'll explain it in the Lashon Hara that Miriam says to Moshe. At the end of Parashat Ba'alotcha, we know that Miriam comes and says slander about Moshe, and she says, Moshe diber, הלא גם בנו דיבר. It's not very clear what she said, but according to the Meforshim, she speaks about equalizing Moshe to herself. Why did Moshe have to leave his wife? How do we know that Moshe left his wife? Because according to, in one place it's written, ואתה לכו לכם לאוהליכם, ואתה פה עמוד עמדי. הקדוש ברוך הוא tells them, go to your tents, which means to your private life, and you stand with me. So from then we learn that Moshe Rabbeinu never came back to private life. And then Miriam is very angry. Why should he do it? Okay? And it's, by the way, very weird that the Torah gives publicity to such a rechilit in the family, that your sister speaks about your marriage life in public. But never mind, that's another interesting story to discuss why the Torah does it. But Miriam speaks against Moshe Rabbeinu's private life, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is angry, and he says, צאו שניכם. And then he gives a big shmuz to Miriam. לו, אם יהיה אלוהיכם, אם יהיה נביאכם, במראה אליו אתוודה, בחלום אדבר בו. לא כן עבדי משה, בכל ביתי נאמן הוא. פה אל פה אדבר בו ומראה ולא בחידות. So the Rambam derives all the four differences between an ordinary Novi and Moshe Rabbeinu's Nevuah from these psukim. Based on these psukim, the Rambam learns the differences between Nevuat Moshe and Nevuat Miriam or other Nevi'im. But I would like to focus on two words. The first one, לו יהיה נביאכם במראה אליו אתוודה, בחלום אדבר בו. We have a mar'ah. What does a mar'ah mean? A mirror. לא כן עבדי משה בכל ביתי נאמן, ופה אל פה אדבר בו, ומראה ולא בחידות. Pay attention to the pan, המשחק מילים, between mar'ah and מראה. You are just a mirror. Moshe is מראה. Okay? Sight or something like this. What does a mirror mean? As I explained, when you look at the water, you see the reflection of yourself. It's a mirror. Even after Aaron comes and gives you not only your own identity of Ben Adam le'atzmo, but the Ben Adam le'chavero aspect, you can still make a selfie and look at the mirror, look at the mar'ah, and just see yourself. Okay? Moshe Rabbeinu is the only one who leads you out of Egypt, but leads you toward a destiny, towards Eretz Israel. He knows where he's going to. Otherwise, afterwards, he was punished, but he knows what he does. He gives you direction. He takes the human beings and not only relate to the Ben Adam Lachaveiro secular relation, but he gives something godly in this relation. Okay, you don't have to behave nicely to your friend, spouse, brother, sister, just because you are a part of the social covenant. You have to behave nicely to them because they symbolize God. Okay, and therefore Moshe Rabbeinu knows that there is a godly identity in the others, in one, and that's why he gives the Ben Adam LaMakom aspect to the aspects of Aaron. Not only Aaron is needed, but we need Moshe. And I would like to finish just with another phrase that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. I'll mention 2 points. Lo chen avdi Moshe. So how do you translate Lo chen avdi Moshe? Moshe Rabbeinu is not like you. That's most simplistic explanation. But in Chassidut, they say Moshe Rabbeinu is lo chen. Is realizing reality, makes it into law. Nothing exists. You don't have any reality. You don't have any existence of anything. And then you make it into ken. It's based on, that's what Chazal said, that in Mount Sinai, Parcha Nishmatam, they died. They all died in front of Mount Sinai. And then they got Tal Shetchiyah, Kadosh Baruch Hu made them alive. Moshe Rabbeinu gives you the perspective of dying and reliving. Okay, so Moshe Rabbeinu gives you something new that Aaron never gave you. Aaron said, okay, there is another person, try to be nice to him. Moshe Rabbeinu says, no. Without being nice to him, you're all dead. And then if you are together, you have something new, which makes friendship, marriage, humanity much better. And the last thing that Moshe says, Tmunat Hashem Yabit. Admor HaZaken asks, how can you say that Tmunat Hashem Yabit? We know from many places over the Torah that it's impossible to relate to HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a Tmuna. He doesn't have any, Lo Reitem Kol Tmuna. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have. So the Admor HaZaken explains Tmunat Hashem Yabit doesn't see the picture of HaKadosh Baruch Hu because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is God, non-picture. But what Moshe Rabbeinu sees is from the perspective of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he looks at reality, he looks at your friends, he looks at yourself, not only from the secular perspective of Miriam and Aaron, but from the divine perspective. You have to look at yourself as a part of what God created here in the world. That's why we have 3 shepherds. The first one gave us the Ben Adam Le'atzmo. The second one, Aaron, gave us the Ben Adam Lachaveiro, but from the non-religious perspective, and Moshe Rabbeinu gives you the Ben Adam LaMakom, making the 2 former faces into a divine face, Ben Adam LaMakom. That's it for now.
Thank you.
Yitraot.
Erev Tov.
Erev Tov.
Thank you. Thank you.